There's a good chance if you clicked on this episode that you are struggling with a big decision right now because honestly, entrepreneurship is full of them. Should I launch this program? Should I quit my day job? Should I pivot my offers? Should I go back to school? Should I start a YouTube channel? These are all questions that a lot of us have to sit with and make quick decisions on, sometimes quick, or at least we tell ourselves that they need to be quick. I'm somebody who am currently in a bit of a pivot, just in case you're new here. So, I have been running a full time online business since 2019. And I recently started grad school to become a therapist. And I've also done many kind of wild things over this past year. I took down almost all of my online courses. Those used to be my primary revenue stream, took almost all of them down. I launched an app recently that's brand new. I also am stepping into in person events for the first time. So there is just so much going on in my world that has required a lot of big decision making. And my nervous system has recognized it. I want to say really quickly at the top, I am not a psychologist. I'm a student. And so I'm going to be talking through a lot of concepts that I've been learning in my master's program for this episode, but this is by no means a substitute for therapy. And it's also not incredibly academic. Okay. I'm going to be talking through just my experiences and my opinions as well. So just want to put that disclaimer out there. So, something I always tell people, my business coaching clients, when they come to me and they're like, how do I make a decision? I'm always like, you've got to listen to your gut. You've got to tap into your intuition. And I realize I haven't always or ever had the words for that, really. I haven't really been able to teach that. It's a very hard thing to teach. At least I thought it was. And now I think I'm getting the tools to be able to do it a little bit better. What I think I mean when I say that is listen to your body. Listen to your nervous system. How does something make you feel? What is that deeper inner knowing? And we're going to talk about what exactly intuition is from a clinical lens in a second. I'm somebody who has struggled with anxiety since I was a kid. One of my earliest formative memories is me getting ill for no reason. I wasn't sick. It was because of stress and anxiety on my body. And so I've always been very tuned into my body. And I think I've always self-regulated my anxiety because when I was growing up, I'm almost 35, people didn't have the words for anxiety. They didn't understand. They didn't know. So I was doing a lot of self-soothing and self-managing of my body. And I think that is a huge part of intuition and understanding what's going on inside. So really quick, a little primer on the role of the body in decision making and brain stuff, because if you're anything like me, before I started my master's program, I was like, somatics, body work, I'm good on that. Like, I am all up here. I'm a rationale type of person. But we're descendants of our ancient ancestors, right? Who literally lived in caves and were getting chased by lions and all kinds of other wild things, right? In human history. Our brains developed from that. Our brains developed from the understanding that if we don't stay as a part of our pack, we might get eaten by that lion, or we may get, left out in the dust by ourselves with no shelter. Human evolution is so fascinating because we obviously are no longer cave people, but our brains don't really know that. Our brains interpret danger pretty similarly, whether it is lion danger or, oh my gosh, I might make $0 this month. In short, our brains are wired to prioritize safety over things like creativity, which can be risky. And entrepreneurship contains inherent risk. And, this is just something that I tell people as well is like, if you're wanting to be an entrepreneur and you are somebody who is completely risk averse or who needs just like ultimate safety and comfort feeling, you might want to think twice about entrepreneurship. And I don't say that, in a negative way that you can't do it or that you won't be able to sort of train those muscles and increase your window of tolerance for risk. But it is going to be a shock to your system if you are somebody who really, really thrives in the comfort. And the point I really want to drive across here in today's episode is that intuition, anxiety, burnout, kind of that nervous excitement, those feelings can all actually feel very similar in the body. and in the brain. And sometimes it's hard to be like, am I excited about this decision, or is my intuition telling me this is the wrong decision? Am I burnt out from this content format or from this business model? Or is my anxiety justified because some things are changing in the industry? So let's talk about it. And a huge thanks to today's sponsor, Metricool. We're going to be talking a lot about your mind and your body today and how to use that inner knowing to make decisions. But the other place that I recommend looking for cues on decisions is your data. One of my bosses in my last corporate job, she always used to say, data is how you make decisions. And I repeat that all the time. I think ideas start in your body and in your mind, right? How do you feel about those things? What do you think about those things? And then back it up with data. Back it up with, are people actually clicking on this type of content? What are my competitors doing? Does this align with what they're seeing success in? What has worked for us in the past? And that combination is really unstoppable. So Metricool actually has a set of new features. They've got the campaign dashboards and Metricool Studio that enable you to look at your data in a really new and exciting way. And you can use my code Latasha to get 30 days free on any of their premium plans and try out all of their amazing features. You connect your social accounts, you log in, you set up your campaigns, you set up your dashboards, and you'll be able to kind of marry this inner knowing, these ideas, these feelings with the numbers so you can make more strategic, more grounded business decisions for yourself. I'll leave a link down below. Okay. Number one, let's talk about what intuition actually feels like. So, intuition is described, I loved learning this term in school. It's described as this unexplained knowing. It is that truth or that sense or that feeling that you have inside of you that you can't really explain rationally, right? There have been so many decisions in my life that I've made mostly through intuition. One of them is leaving my day job. I just had this feeling. People always ask me, when did you know it was time to leave? Was it a dollar amount in the bank account? Was it an event that happened? And sure, there were bits of that. I did save money. I had a good amount of money. I had a little nest egg. And I also did experience a tragedy, the loss of my father, that I think kind of like catapulted me. But honestly, even before that was happening, I was kind of ramping up my client load. I was getting my systems together. I was like researching office furniture and, just little things that I think I just knew. I just knew it was time and I was ready. And again, that can be really hard to coach to because it's like, I don't know, you're just going to wake up one day and know. But I do think that is advice in and of itself is when you know, you know. Now, if we want to get academic for a second, psychologically, some researchers believe that intuition comes from the brain rapidly processing patterns, right? Past experiences, emotional memory, environmental cues, pattern recognition, things that exist beneath conscious awareness. So there were little things, if I look back at quitting my day job, we were going through company restructuring over and over again. And it was honestly really mentally draining. My job was pretty safe. And I was told over and over and over again that my job was safe. But, I think underneath somewhere there was a bit of a fear like, am I going to be next? And or is this the type of environment that I want to keep working in? Is this company sustainable? Like that could have been part of my intuitive cues. You might also think of intuition as gut instinct, as inner wisdom. Sometimes even faith or spirituality can be tied into this. And for me, intuition feels grounded. It feels steady. It doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, there's layoffs happening. I got to quit my job before they have a chance to fire me and figure things out. That wasn't the energy. That wasn't the intuitive energy. The intuitive energy was, I'm going to slowly start building so that if I do get laid off or if I do get fed up, I'm going to have a soft spot to land. And if I do just wake up one day and say, yep, today's the day, I'm going to be ready for that. This is maybe going to ruffle some feathers a little bit. But, I talked about faith and spirituality, and that can be traditional, religious spirituality and faith. But Also, this can be where some of the more quote unquote woo woo or witchy or whatever you want to call it things can come in, like a symbol, right? Numerology, astrology, tarot cards. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy a deck of tarot cards to tap into your intuition, or definitely not to predict the future, because that is not what they really are there for. What I'm saying is these symbols, these maybe recurring patterns that you pull out that you see, oh my gosh, I always see a cardinal. Maybe that's this person from, sending a message from the dead. Or I always pull the Ace of Wands tarot card, or whatever that might be. What that is your intuitive knowing actually kind of coming out through the card or the symbol or the number or whatever that might be. These things are not, magic, if you will. They're not future predictors, but they're mirrors. They're mirrors for what you are already feeling and already seeing. And if I pull, I don't know, the Lover's card, and you're deeply in love with somebody, you're going to see that as, yes, I should stay with that person. But if I pull the Lover's card and you are choosing between leaving or staying, because that's also what the Lover's card can represent, is choice, you're going to see a different message from that. So yes, there are tools that can help you sort of grow your intuition or recognize your intuition without necessarily predicting the future, let's say. Okay, now let's contrast that with anxiety. Anxiety often feels catastrophic. That's how I describe anxiety. And I also want to be clear, we're talking about anxiety as a feeling, not as a pathology, right? If you have an anxiety disorder, that's a different conversation. And I just want to make that clear. Anxiety is a feeling that we can all feel, though, whether we have an anxiety disorder or not. And for me, it is catastrophic. It's, oh my gosh, this is not going to work. I got to figure something out fast. I am going to be on the street tomorrow if I do not think up a new offer that resonates because my last launch flopped. It is really like I am a loser. I have videos that say that. It's catastrophic. It's devastating. It is loud. It is always kind of present, like it's a thing that won't shut up in my brain. And it also can manifest via doom spirals where I'm like, oh my gosh, everything just gets worse. It's like you're digging a hole and you can't get out of it. It's like, well, this launch flopped, and that means that I'm a loser and my videos are going to flop because nobody's going to want to learn from me because I didn't do a good launch. And then my videos are going to flop, so then I'm not going to get sponsorship income. And then blah, 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 blah. It's just like everything keeps getting worse. That's kind of a doom spiral. Also, for those of us who work online, which I think is, probably all of us, it can come through compulsive checking, right? Like always refreshing the email, always refreshing the phone, always refreshing the sales page. Like, let's see if anything's changed in the past 3 seconds. It can also, checking can be competition, other people, looking at other accounts, looking at what other people are doing, trying to sort of keep up with the social media Joneses, and reassurance seeking as well, wanting to make sure that people still like you, that they're leaving comments, that they're watching your Instagram story, right? So I'll give you an example of this. For me recently, I just launched an app, and the app does have AI components to it. And I've been somebody who has been kind of critical of AI, right? I very much believe in human art, human creativity, human writing, all the things. And I know a lot of my audience feels the same way. And I was really worried about launching this because I thought people were going to call me a sellout, and they were going to, I went through the doom spiral, right? Right? People are going to call me a sellout, and then they're not going to want to work with me or watch my videos. They're not going to want to buy my book, which is 100% human written, by the way, righted. It's human righted. But yeah, when I launch my book later this year, people aren't going to want to buy that. Like, I just kind of went through a million different spirals of criticism I was going to get and pain that I was going to feel from that. And none of it happened. No one said anything. And to be fair, I haven't really been promoting it that much. So I guess we'll see what happens when I go a little bit harder with promotion. You guys should check it out, by the way. I'll have it linked down below. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But what definitely did not happen immediately was catastrophe, right? Nobody was like, how dare you? No one was called me a sellout, none of those things. In fact, the only feedback I've gotten so far has been very positive and or curious. If it hasn't been somebody who's actually downloaded it and said, I'm enjoying it, it's been somebody saying, how's it going? I'm curious about that. I want to learn more about that. So, one of the things that I had to do with that was I had to just literally put it down and put the fear down and just calm my body. Because again, our body goes into that sort of fight or flight response when we are highly activated and we're in that doom spiral. And when we are like, oh my goodness, everything's falling apart. And it can be really hard to discern, is this a real concern or is this a doom spiral? Is this me catastrophizing or is this me looking at real potential risk and then making a plan for that real potential risk, right? So I do have a plan for if somebody tells me I'm selling out. In fact, I actually got ahead of it, I think, with the video that I posted when I launched the app. I explained it. I said, hey, I know that I haven't always loved AI. I know all of you guys don't always love AI. Here's why this is different. Here's why I'm choosing to go in on it. What I do want to say though is anxiety can attach itself to real concerns and it can be I don't want to necessarily say it can be positive, but it can be a signal. It can be a signal. I've had so many situations, I don't know if any of you can relate, but I've had situations where I get in an elevator with somebody and I just feel this like cold sweat coming over my body and I get out the next floor. I don't stay to my final destination. Is that real? Were they really a bad person? Hard to say, but my body was sending me a signal, probably through some type of pattern recognition that I cannot even verbalize to you, right? Maybe there was just a certain look in their eye or a certain, something that made me feel unsafe. I mean, I could tell you my story about almost getting attacked by a moose in the woods in Maine. That was an example of my body knowing before it happened. And in business, to bring it back, I've had a lot of anxiety over this in-person event that I'm hosting in New York in November. Link down below if you want to join the wait list and join the pre-sale. But yeah, I've had a lot of anxiety about it because there are some very real concerns. There are very real economic concerns. We are in a weird economy. Let's just say things are different. Okay. This is also a different format and a different type of product or service that I'm selling. I've never done this before. There is my reputation. If this doesn't go well, it's like a bigger deal than if an app that I could just archive doesn't go well, right? So sometimes it does tell you things. And I'll tell you how I used my anxiety as a signal with planning this event. We originally, the budget initially was like $75,000 to host our dream event, right? To do everything very luxuriously, very, beautifully and perfect and extravagantly. And I really, after sitting with it for a little bit of time, I was like, no, we need to cut this. I didn't say that immediately. I didn't say, no, we can't do fun things. But I sat down and I said, you know what? Let's go for a more calculated risk. Let's go for a number that feels a little safer, that will not devastate my bank account if we can't make it up, if we don't break even. The 25K budget that we have now still would be a lot. It would be not good if I didn't make any of that back, but I could recover from that. 75K would be absolutely devastating, right? So it can be an indicator of maybe where you need to scale back or get out of the elevator or go the other way in the woods. So it is important to be able to listen to your body and listen to those signals that it might be telling you. But you need to do it from a grounded place too. Survival situations are different. The moose in the elevator, that's a different story, just run. But in business, it's let me sit with this feeling for a minute and let me see if this is really just panic, if this is a spiral, or if I'm still feeling it. If I wake up after sleeping on it and I'm still feeling that, maybe that's a sign I need to take a different direction. Now, let's talk about burnout really quickly, because this is something else that I think can sometimes be confusing. Burnout often feels like really kind of similar to avoidance, right? We get a lot of avoidance. It's like, this doesn't make me happy anymore. I'm not feeling it anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't think of any ideas. I used to come up with a million YouTube ideas and now I can't think of one. I don't feel motivated anymore. Sometimes this can feel like I've lost passion, right? I am no longer interested in this business that I've built anymore. When really it's like, do you just need a nap? Do you just need a vacation? This is why taking vacations is so important, actually, because every time I step away from my business for a good chunk of time, and on an actual vacation, not a working vacation, not just like a trip to go see a friend, where I'm still going to be working, but on like a true vacation for a few days to a week. I come back and I'm like excited to work again. Have you guys ever felt that feeling? So that's a sign that what you're feeling is burnout, not I should quit, this is a bad decision, and so on and so forth. Burnout is recognized psychologically and medically. The World Health Organization defines it as a syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. It's often characterized by exhaustion, increased mental distance or cynicism toward work, and a reduced sense of effectiveness or accomplishment. Now, I'll tell you my burnout story, which was, honestly, it encompasses burnout and I think a bit of anxiety, actually a lot of anxiety. Burnout for me was my studio space, truly. I felt very tired, and I don't even know that tired is the word. I think the word is like exhausted and stressed by the work that I was doing on YouTube and in the courses space. I was noticing a lot of changes in the online course space. This is where the anxiety kind of comes in too. And I was sort of panic making decisions. I was like, maybe I need to just try something new. I can't take my courses down without having something else that I can offer people. Let's think of what else I can offer people. I think there was also some identity wrapped into that decision. I signed my lease for my office space a month after my divorce was finalized. And I think I was kind of like, well, who am I now? And I didn't want to maybe sit in some of those feelings. I wanted to like have a new project to work on so I could do some avoidance, some emotional avoidance of dealing with those deeper issues, those deeper feelings that came up. There was actually a lot involved in that decision now that I'm unpacking it too, because I was also deeply in love with somebody who lived in Florida at the time. He still lives in Florida. And I think it was a form of protection too, because I didn't want to immediately go be somebody else's wife. I didn't want to go run away to another state. And I wanted something to kind of anchor me here and say, Latasha, you're signing this 2-year lease and you are going to be an independent woman for at least 2 years. So I think there was a lot involved in that psychologically, but I do think at the core of it and what really triggered it was burnout from my existing business model. Some things didn't feel like they were working anymore, but mostly it felt like a values misalignment. And I've talked about this before in other videos. Let's see, I pulled up some research on it. They've explored some things like value incongruence. I think that's what I was really getting to. Lack of autonomy, emotional exhaustion, and chronic stress as major contributors to burnout. So value incongruence is when you're doing something that is opposing your personal values. And I felt like, and I still sometimes feel like, the social media world is not in congruence with my values. I love connecting with people on the internet. I love so many things, but there was a lot of weird stuff. It was also an election year. And so everything felt very catastrophic. Again, that's where some of that anxiety came in. Everything felt really heavy and catastrophic. And I was like, am I a part of this machine that is like giving fake information and AI generated news stories? And like, what is going on? So I think I felt really burnt out at the time. So I went and I made a decision to rent a studio that, financially doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I am making money from it every single month, but am I making a giant profit? No. So it's okay. It did serve other psychological purposes for me. Like I said, it kind of gave me a project to work on. And I do think that anchoring me to my independence was important, because I do think if I didn't do that, I would probably have, moved full time to Florida and immediately lost my identity in somebody else. Not that relationships are bad, right? Inherently, but I do think I needed that kind of cool off time between getting divorced and becoming somebody else's wife. So, okay, so here's some things to think about. If you're like, which of these things are speaking to me right now? Intuition. Ask yourself, how does this feel after I've slept on it? Is this still here? Is this showing up constantly? And I always like to think about, am I thinking about this over a period of months or years? For me, that was my day job, quitting my day job, right? This wasn't something that I couldn't get out of my head for 3 days. It was something I couldn't get out of my head for 3 months, maybe even 3 years. Does it feel grounded or panicked? Do you feel like, yeah, it's going to work out? Like I just have a feeling I'm going to own my own business someday. Or does it feel like, oh my gosh, I need to make this business work because my corporate career isn't working? Oh my gosh, I need to rent this studio space because I don't want to be online and super visible anymore, right? If nobody judged you, what would I choose? That's a good question to ask yourself. Anxiety. Am I trying to solve the entire future today? That's a big one. I am a planner. I like to know what's going on. If I could know the future, I would. And guess what? We can't. Things can change overnight. The world can change overnight. And the best that you can do is make decisions based on the information you have available to you now and really put one foot in front of the other. My therapist always tells me living more in the present moment is never a bad idea, right? The more that we try to think way off into the future and plan every second, we tend to get a little overwhelmed, and planning is good. And I think this is where things get challenging as an entrepreneur, because that's my superpower as well, is that I am a planner and that I get shit done. You probably do too. But you've got to know when is when. You've got to know, I can have a loose plan for things. I can have sort of a framework for things, but I have to plan in for factors that I cannot control. Economic factors. I cannot control the price of gas. I cannot single-handedly control that. I cannot control, like in relationships, for example. Sure, romantic relationships, but even business partnerships, I can't control what the other person does. I can say the plan is that we will get married in 2 years. The plan is that we will, launch this business together. But if they go sideways, you can't decide that, right? Am I catastrophizing? Am I only thinking worst case scenario? I think for me, I like to say I'm a realist. Some people like to say I'm a pessimist. I think it's important. I got to remind myself to look at the good too, to think about the potential positive outcome, whatever the opposite of catastrophizing is. Yeah, with this event, it's like, okay, I could see us selling no tickets and having to cancel and me being $25,000 in debt, or I could see us having a great time and it working out and the truth is probably going to be somewhere in the middle. That's probably where reality is going to fall. And so keep yourself from catastrophizing by maybe optimisticizing. What's the word for it, you guys? Being a little optimistic, not delusional, but I do think being a little delulu has a place. Here's another one that I'm kind of throwing in here. So if you've ever been to AA, I think they say this there, HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. They teach you this, that if you are feeling a craving for something that you shouldn't be craving or you don't want to be craving, take care of those things first. Am I halting? Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely or am I tired? I use this for anxiety. My anxiety spirals happen at night. I will be like having the greatest day and then I go to bed. And then all of a sudden it's 2 a.m. and I'm like, oh my gosh, everything's going to fail. My business is going to fail. I'm a loser. I'm going to end up with, I'm going to like have to give up my house and I'm going to have to go like live in my mom's basement. She doesn't even have a basement. So where am I? Like that is where that happens. It's always when I'm tired. For you, you might notice other times and look for those patterns too. It's really bad for me too when I don't get a lot of sleep. The other week, I was in New York planning for this event, and I only got like 3 hours of sleep that night, the travel day, and I had a full-on meltdown in the hotel room. I was crying. I was like, "What is going on?" And then it happened to me again recently, and I looked at my Aura ring, and I had gotten 3 hours of sleep. So I'm like, "Okay, sleep first, then plan, then think about the future." You might notice other patterns though. You might notice it happens when you've been alone for a long period of time. I actually notice that too. I tend to get anxious when I haven't spoken to another human in person for a couple of days. Hungry, right? Hangry. We've all been there. Okay. Um, Burnout. Have you rested? Like truly rested? Hustle culture is not it. I love Gary Vee, you guys. I took his advice. I give him a lot of credit for a lot of things. I think he gave me a lot of motivation to start my business. I've made that no secret, but I cannot believe that I was listening to this man say, I sleep like 5 hours a night or whatever he was saying, and being like, yeah, that works for a season. That's what I'm going to say. And that's probably not good mental health, like advice or teaching. But I think living in reality as a business owner, it does work for a season. There are seasons of hustle, but you have to balance those seasons of hustle with seasons of rest and true rest. Rest is not taking a 10-minute walk down the block. That can be helpful, and I definitely recommend doing that, but you need like sizable chunks of rest, a week off of work, day off of work, whatever that might be. It really is a reinvestment into the business. Sometimes you need to ask yourself if you actually need clarity on this or if you just need recovery. I was talking to one of my friends, we're in a mastermind together, and he was like, yeah, things are weird in the economy right now. And what I'm noticing is everybody's trying to change what they're doing. And like, really, they should probably just like take an L for a second, like just like not make any rash decisions, not rent a studio space, maybe not take down all their courses. I don't know. We'll see if that was a bad decision or not. Yeah, I think everybody's kind of rushing to try to figure out the next thing. And really, they just maybe need to like recover and just like pause, calm their nervous systems for a minute and see. I think also, have you been emotionally on for too long? Because doing physical work and doing emotional work is different. They're both hard in their own ways, but I think for us, if you are watching or listening to this, chances are you run a semi front-facing, public-facing business. And even if, it's funny because I can be like, I only worked 20 hours last week or less. So some days I don't do much at all. I'm going to be honest. Some days I'm like, I'm just going to vlog today. And so I'm just like cleaning and going to the grocery store and like hanging out. And I'm like, why am I so exhausted? It's because it's this emotional work. It's this emotional work, right? So to wrap things up, I think all of this comes back to the body. A lot of it at least comes back to the body, right? And learning how to listen to your body, ground yourself in your body a little bit more, and be able to quiet your mind enough to like listen to what it's telling you. And so nervous system regulation is something that I recommend all entrepreneurs start paying attention to. And again, this is as somebody who before I started my grad program, I was just like, who cares? My body's fine. I do Pilates, I go running. But yeah, entrepreneurship is a series of chronic uncertainty. It is a lot of unknowns. It is a lot of big decisions. And it does really serve us well when we can make those decisions from a grounded place. And I think also if you're prepared for the fact that it is going to be a lot of uncertainty, you can learn how to regulate. Because that's something we didn't really talk about, right? Is just because you feel anxiety doesn't mean necessarily it's a bad decision. There are ways to, again, expand that window of tolerance for discomfort through things like breathing, movement, and other things that can help you. There are things that you can do to keep your nervous system in check when your launch does flop, because listen, flops are inevitable. If you are only listening to coaches or, podcasters, whatever, who teach you business is always great, business is always amazing, like you got to be growing year over year, month over month, launch over launch, and if not, you're failing. I bet you they haven't been in business that long. That's my guess. Or they've just gotten incredibly lucky, because every business owner I know can tell you a long list of failures balanced out by the good, right? And there are things that we've got to learn how to do to prepare yourself both mentally, physically, and of course financially. That is a real component to this. If you can prepare yourself for those types of risks, you'll be able to flow with them and say, you know what? That one didn't work, on to the next. And I got to give credit to my ex-husband, who he always used to say this to me. He always said, not every song is a hit. Ooh. And I was like, thank you. Thank you. Not every launch is going to be an amazing launch, right? Not every video is going to do well. Some just aren't going to work well. You've got to be able to get back on that horse. And by listening to your body and learning how to work with your nervous system, you will be more adept to do so. So, if you guys have any questions about this stuff, feel free to leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you made any decisions recently that scared you and they worked out, or that they didn't work out. Were there any things, any signs that maybe you see now a little bit more clearly? And also, if you want to learn more about nervous system regulation and work together in that capacity, I will leave my coaching link down below. And lastly, thank you so much to Metricool for sponsoring today's episode. Be sure to use their code Latasha, my code, not their code, my code Latasha, Latasha, to get 30 days free on any of their premium plans. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.